welcome to Talking Down the Highway. I'm Matt.
I'm Glenn.
I'm Tim. I'm sleepy.
Hey, Tim.
Hi.
Hey, Matt.
Hello.
How are y'all doing?
Yeah.
I'm better than
Okay.
because this is happy times for me. Although I will say that it has been a rough couple weeks since we last met. I should reach out for help from y'all. I went down a rabbit hole.
Oh, okay.
It was,
At least you didn't get swallowed by a whale.
I need help from my friends to pull me out. It was brutal. So I don't know if this is corrections and revisions from last time, but after discussing Sunflower and Surf's Up and the landlocked era, I went in a deep dive into the Beach Boys multiverse.
Oh no!
What would have happened? I know it was bad.
Oh, that's right.
It was bad. I even made a little Trello board, like a murder board of like what could have happened with these tracks, and it was not pretty. I even went down into the Dennis Wilson, multiverse. What if?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
So I walk into Glenn's classroom on, I don't know, it was Thursday maybe. And he's like super stressed out and he's like ripping at his hair and everything. He's trying to assemble like 4 different Beach Boys albums, aside from the existing ones that were released between.
And in so doing, I think I improved Surf's Up. And I think I improved Sunflower in my, multiverse of what could have been.
He's just doing this weird, like, fan fiction.
It is okay. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Like
it's
stitching together unreleased tracks or like alternate
versions?
versions?
We were cloudy. Like last time we talked, we were like, there's not a lot of things. So I just went dove in and I found random potential album listings for Landlocked. And I was curious, after there were so many rejected versions of Sunflower, I was what would some of the earlier versions have been, and what could have, if the record label weren't such dicks about making it sellable and this whole Charles Manson PR nightmare, if they would have just accepted
they would have just lightened up.
Yeah, lightened up a little bit.
I still don't get the whole Charles Manson PR nightmare. Like, to me, that seems like it should have increased interest.
Right?
Like, people, they're a cult. They're like, I don't know. Maybe the 70s, 60s, 70s were just different.
The record execs aren't going to think of it that way. So.
I guess.
Yeah, I think they just wanted to avoid that nightmare. So, all that to say, I poured through the Feel Flows and all of the bonus material I could find from the time. And, a lot of the stuff I kind of pieced together was there were a bunch of... Dennis was really prolific during this time, and he was doing all kinds of stuff, and not all of it got put out. And there's an alternate conversation that maybe Dennis was holding back some of his stuff because they wouldn't really let him be his own person. He was thinking maybe I could do a solo album. And so, there's this, I think the working title was Poops.
Dennis's solo album?
Yeah, or Hubba Hubba. Poops / Hubba Hubba.
Oh, so it would be like Dennis Wilson Poops.
Or Dennis Wilson, Hubba Hubba.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe. But anyways, there's all kinds of Dennis Wilson tracks. Hey, and so I went through and I was like, okay, if Dennis and Daryl Dragon were with me and I was like, hey guys, let's do this. Here's how I would have put it together.
But that's the thing. Maybe they should have done that, and that's going to be part of my conversation with.
That's what I'm saying. They should have done that, and they should have let them come out with Landlocked and do their thing, and then they should have let Carl do his whole thing, and that's maybe kind of what we're talking about today.
And they should have just focused on the fact that all of them poop, not just Dennis.
That would be a healthier take, maybe. Right.
Sometimes people don't like to talk about poop.
I know.
We all do it,
though.
Yeah, I'm doing it right now.
Oh, there you go. It's a good thing you're not wearing pants.
Yeah, I never do.
Weird. I guess it's interesting. I won't say that I haven't engaged in some weird fan fiction music stuff too. I was telling Glenn
1974. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I was like, I've made alternate Beatles albums. Like, if they hadn't broken up in 1970, what would a Like the real fun one is like, what would a Beatles album in 1980 sound like? So you've got, John's really sincere comeback kind of stuff mixed with, here comes Temporary Secretary, by Paul McCartney. I don't know. Like, so yeah, I understand the appeal of it, but the thing is, we covered 2 really good albums in our last pair of episodes.
We did.
Like Sunflower and Surf's Up are legitimate, excellent records. So,
but Surf's Up has
leave 'em
student
be.
demonstration time on it, which is
does.
garbage.
It is garbage,
and it would be
but
much
it's
better.
Also, a Beach
if we-
Boys album, like there's a Beach Boys album that doesn't at least have some garbage on it.
And
Beach
maybe
Boys
that's
album,
why.
right?
And maybe that's why in public consciousness, it's Beatles and everyone else, and not Beatles and Beach Boys and everyone else.
Look, the existence of this podcast should confirm that I love the Beach Boys, but
No, but I think
at best
that's
it's
true.
Beatles way down lower.
Hey, back
Beach
off!
Boys.
What is this
come on,
podcast?
Come on.
Well, but like Glenn, you're right. As far as like the inconsistency of the output they did, and like the fact that there is a lot of garbage that they made. Like I have a coworker who's older and a big Beach Boys fan, but I'm talking to him about the podcast and the albums we're covering, and he's like, I've never even heard of that album. Like, Carl and the Passion. Like there's this whole period of time that even Beach Boys fans don't really care about.
Right. Which is sad and tragic, and we'll talk about that today because we're going to talk about one of them, right?
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
Well, let's take a break, and we'll come back and talk about what we're talking about this week.
Yeah.
All right, we are back on Talking Down the Highway, a Beach Boys podcast presented by Strange Currencies Music. Sorry, I didn't do that whole thing in the intro. So,
Well, like
figured
and
we do it now.
subscribe.
We got to talk about Strange Currencies Music every once in a while.
Like and subscribe. Smash that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Whatever. We're on Instagram as Talking Beach Boys.
Talking Beach Boys, like and subscribe. Yeah, we talked before. We
We're up
always
to,
do this stuff at the end of the
right.
episode, so we should do it a little bit earlier.
We're up to 123 million followers on
Nice.
Instagram.
Nice.
Including an actual
quote
unquote Beach Boy.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I mean, I guess this era shows that pretty much anybody can be a Beach Boy, right?
Let's not besmirch.
no, Bobby's legit.
We
He's
discovered
on
that
an
last
album.
episode.
Yeah, he seems cool.
He's playing with Al and the Wilson sisters,
Other than being a Dodger fan.
hanging out with Bill Walton. So maybe
He's
he's a Blazer fan too. And Blondie.
He's on the LA Light album.
Ooh.
Great.
Ow.
Anyway,
Yeah. So anyway,
Very popular.
follow us.
Yes.
Follow us on Talking Beach Boys.
You might get to interact with Tim's dad,
You might.
who's a frequent commenter.
I don't know if
Yeah, but he's not on Instagram.
I don't think he is. No.
He's a
He'll
YouTube
comment on the
commenter.
YouTube.
Yeah.
That's how you should consume Talking Down the Highway is YouTube, because one of these days,
Our Spotify listens are a lot higher than our YouTube listens lately. At the beginning, it was the reverse of that, and now the Spotify's really kind of taken off.
I don't know, 123 million.
Oh no, followers.
Instagram.
We're up to like 2.4 billion.
Oh
listens.
wow!
We're
Okay,
moving along.
we're
So-
big time, is what we're saying.
Yeah. And strangecurrenciesmusic.com. Don't forget that. There's some good. I've been busy.
If you like to
I've been
read.
writing. We've been doing some catalog crawls in the last month or two. We've put out a Bob Dylan one, which is great. Credence one.
I like you pointed out the similarities in the Gollywogs cover to Dinosaurs, TV show from the 90s.
Yeah.
It's uncanny. I mean, they obviously were inspired by
Clearly, yes.
it. Gollywogs
then,
were obviously inspired by the Jim
right,
Henson
that's
Company.
right.
Yeah.
And then last week I put out a Frank Black catalog.
Yeah, I saw that. That's
30 albums deep.
Intense.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, no. It was 20.
20.
30 is what I'm working on right now. I don't know if I'm going to spoil which one.
Oh, ooh, now I'm intrigued.
Is it the Eurythmics? Is it the Go-Go's?
Is it Smash Mouth?
Is it Guns N' Roses?
Mate, you're just going to have to wait and see. All right. All right, now that we've gotten all of our commercial stuff out of the way.
All right, it's time to talk context here. It's 1972. We have...
Well, let's say the name of the album.
Well, the name of the album is apparently So Tough.
No, it's Carl and the
By a
Passions.
band called Carl and the Passions?
No.
It's actually the Beach Boys, Carl and the Passions, So Tough.
No, it's the album is called Carl and the Passions, So Tough by the Beach Boys.
No, I think it's Carl and the Passions, So Tough.
Tough.
Like tough shit.
No, it's just Carl and the Passions, a.k.a.
So Tough is just describing the album.
It is so tough.
It's not
Carl
tender.
is so tough.
Yeah.
And his
passionate.
passions are tough.
Anyway, it's a confusing title.
This is why I think this is
a really confusing title. And you know what? It speaks to something that I really feel about this record. But go ahead and talk context.
Well, okay. So here's the context. We've done Surf's Up in 71. And Brian is in his bathrobe at the Radiant Radish.
Mm-hmm. And either there or in bed.
In bed. Mm-hmm. And things are not going well for Brian.
But at some point, he sees the Flames from South Africa performing.
Carl sees the Flames, doesn't it? I thought it was Carl.
Well, Carl ended up producing.
Right, yeah. But Brian, I believe, is the one who saw them live and then kind of invited them to tour with them.
So Brian is not in great shape. And Dennis...
despite what the Smile era song says.
Right. Dennis, I don't know, punches a wall or something?
No, so... I want to say the Wikipedia really glosses over this, but according to the Peter Ames Carlin book, quote, Dennis capped a drunken tirade by punching through a bedroom window in his house, severing a few tendons in his right hand. So he punched a window.
Could
no longer play drums, so he
enter.
Well, I don't know
Ricky.
if he recruits, but Ricky Fattar from the Flames had to take over for him on drums.
Right.
Dennis would still sing live and occasionally play keyboard, but he was pretty much out as the drummer at that point.
And if I remember correctly, that's alluded to in the second half of the made-for-TV movie, right?
I don't even remember.
Yeah, we're gonna come back to that in a few weeks, but yeah.
So Ricky is technically first, but Blondie is not long after.
Yeah, Blondie Chaplin, also in the Flames, who
right.
But they end up being signed to Brother Records by Carl. They're the only other non-Beach Boys act, I think, on the label. They put out an album called The Flame, and I think they technically changed their name to The Flame singular for that one. Blondie Chaplin, Ricky Fattar are in that band, and they end up being incorporated into the group as Bruce is on his way out.
Exactly, yeah. So Bruce and his giant fucking head are kicked out of the band, and they're like, all right, well, we got a lot more room on the tour bus now that giant fucking head isn't in the band. We can bring 2 additional people into the band
and
now.
They're pretty small. I mean, the pictures I've seen, they're very
they're tiny.
They look like little boys.
Little boys.
I just want to say
they're young,
briefly that this was a couple years later, but Ricky was later one of the Ruddles. Are you familiar with the Ruddles?
Yeah.
The Beatles parody, apparently, are basically led by Eric Idle.
Yeah,
but isn't Blondie
the George version?
Isn't Blondie connected to the Stones? Didn't he travel with the Stones?
I don't know.
A bit.
he toured with them at one point. I seem to remember in his bio. But yeah.
But anyways, that's kind of
that's how they get in the mix.
That's how they are in the mix, and at this point, my narrative that I have in my head, take this what it's worth. I get the impression that Brian is kind of incapacitated, and it feels to me like this album there's not much, if at all, Brian, and this is Carl taking the lead, and these are his passions.
Well, Brian's doing some writing here.
He's doing some.
Yeah, he's written some, but I don't think he even is in the studio at all for this.
Well, they're recording this. So we were talking before we started rolling here about the availability of this album on vinyl. I got it by way of the Sail on Sailor box set. Mm-hmm. So I was reading the liners and the little essays that are in there. And there's a little bit of confusion as to how much of it was recorded where, but a lot of this was recorded in Brian's house in his studio. And they did a little bit of work. I think it sounds like maybe the stuff with Ricky and Blondie in a proper studio. Mm. But so Brian was certainly around. He was demoing some of these tracks.
The personnel on this is sort of muddy too at times.
Yeah,
it looks like
there's some dragons involved and shit. But, yeah.
And I don't know if Brian has any lead vocal.
He
credits.
doesn't.
He does
That's what I'm
not.
saying.
Yeah.
He doesn't have any performing credits. Even it looks like
he does. I mean, if you look at Wikipedia, which is I tend to go with those because they're compiled by this guy Greg Slavinsky, who seems to know what he's talking about. He has backing vocal credits on tracks 1, 3, and 4. Response vocals on 3. Did some tack piano and Hammond organ on a couple songs. Grand piano. So a lot of keyboards.
I think those are just cut and paste. I think that was photoshopped in. I think they photoshopped Brian's vocals in.
Well,
but anyways,
they did have to Photoshop.
Well, and keep in mind, there was also a contractual obligation that there had to be a certain number of Brian Wilson writing credits on. Beach
and
Boys
there
albums
are 3 excellent Brian Wilson writing credits.
That's funny. That's cute. There are 2 pretty decent Brian credits, and then there's one absolute.
Okay, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about
Brian.
We'll talk
But
about
as far
that
as contractual obligations, just there, I did notice this isn't in the book I'm reading, but it's just one quick mention on Wikipedia was that this is what they finally basically shelved Landlocked, I think, because they just had to make something for Reprise.
Right.
Yeah. So.
And that was part of my deep dive is. What if and they all have very different vibes to them. Like Landlocked had this kind of like happy-go-lucky, paradisical vibe to it.
Paradisical.
And I don't know, some Suzy Q and anyways, they whereas Surf's Up had kind of this more, downer, serious and intentional so anyways, Carl, I get the impression that Carl is now kind of holding things together. And, I alluded to it earlier. If everybody had freedom just to do creatively what they wanted to do, and there wasn't this pressure to produce, I get a sense that like Carl could have put together an album of stuff. Yeah. And Dennis could have put together an album of stuff. Yeah. And I feel like,
Mike could have
Mike and Al could go do something.
He could have just cheered him on.
Right.
Mike could have joined Bruce and whatever the fuck Bruce would have been doing at this point.
He could have just gone and got coffee.
Well, and here's the thing. We usually don't do much about the evaluation of the albums before we're done, talking about all of them. There's all of 8 songs on this one, so I think that'll go relatively quickly. But you two have both, for years now, kind of expressed a lot more enthusiasm for this record than I have. And I get it, but in listening to this one, I can't help but think what we had talked about last week with the what if Surf's Up had been the last Beach Boys album. As I listen to this, I just even more want that to have been the case. Like if we're going to do fan fiction, Glenn gets to create extra new records. I want to just be like, all right, the Beach Boys fucking ended in 1971 with Surf's Up, and this can exist, but it just doesn't.
Well, but the thing is,
it doesn't feel like a Beach Boys album to me.
The thing is, the other alternate reality is that Holland is the last Beach Boys album. This is an in between, kind of like 2020 is an in between.
Yeah, I don't. It's so we've talked about these new guys coming in. You've got Ricky and Blondie, who by all accounts seem like decent guys. Blondie remains on Team Brian to this day, and we've seen him perform a couple times. See, I'm on Team Blondie. I like the guy.
Yeah, totally.
And from what I know about Ricky, he seems cool to me. But they come in and they're like immediately elevated to a position. They've got 2 songs on this album. They're doing lead vocals, and it just seems
it's a totally different band.
Weird.
Yeah.
And it's like we were talking over the last few albums, like should Bruce even have a Bruce Johnston song on a Beach Boys album? Like it just seems weird. This is Brian and his brothers and their stupid fucking cousin. And now you got, big-headed guy, Bruce who's putting songs. And now like immediately these guys come into the band, and on an 8-song album, 2 of them are literally just like Ricky Blondie songs on a Beach Boys album. It just seems weird.
It is weird.
It just doesn't seem right. And there's let me make one more point here. Like we've been talking for the last several episodes about Beach Boys albums that are going off in all kinds of different directions. My problem isn't this doesn't sound like a Beach Boys album, because what a Beach Boys album can be over the last 6 episodes of this show, we've realized like a Beach Boys album can be all manner of different fucking things. It can be a R&B record, or this weird stoned out experimental thing, or a democratic record where everybody's writing stuff. This one, like, my problem with it isn't that it doesn't sound like the other stuff. It just does not
cohesive.
feel like a Beach Boys album. Whereas those other ones that were weird always at least still came back to being, yes, these are fucking Beach Boys albums.
I mean, it's because Brian's barely involved.
And that's the thing. Why do we need the Beach Boys if Brian is not intimately, critically right there in the mix, putting his voice into it, literally and figuratively?
Sure.
Glenn's got his fucking hand raised, so go ahead.
I was waiting patiently. I didn't want to interrupt.
Go ahead.
Allow me to offer an alternative narrative. I think this album gets crapped on a lot because, rightfully so, we love Brian. And Brian is decidedly not here in the way that we have come to expect him to be. And I think if we put that aside and recognize we can like an album, and that doesn't mean that we don't need Brian or don't love Brian. I think that this is an alternate product that Brian was incapacitated, and so let's let Carl do his thing for a while. And Carl's enamored with Blondie and Ricky right now, and so they're kind of like the guys who we would sign to the label, who we would like to tour with. Yeah. And so let's bring them out and do a couple songs with us. They're like the opening act. And so like this, I see this album almost more like a compilation of the Beach Boys family circle. Like, this is kind of who we're hanging out with. This is what we're into right now. We want to try a little bit of funk and a little bit of R&B, a little bit of gospel. And this is kind of like where we're going right now. Well, and that's what this album is.
And I wonder if maybe they were trying to get away from that idea of this is a Beach Boys product. I mean, they literally call it Carl and the Passions. And to me, I mean, I don't know.
See,
and by the way, I don't dislike this record. I mean, it came in at number 15 on our catalog crawl. Just a little bit of a heads up there on that. So it's not like it got trashed by us.
Right.
But it just... I don't know. Like, they should have just called it, this is Carl and the Passions. This is not a Beach Boys record. And I'd be completely, totally okay with that.
Yeah. I think I would too.
And I think that's my point. That if you can see it not as necessarily a Brian Wilson album or a Beach Boys album, because it's not, you can appreciate it in the way that I appreciate it. And I think it gets knocked because... oh, Brian's not here. Well, he wrote 3 of the songs.
Better than 2020.
Right?
Yeah.
And also, this is like, I don't know.
It's way better than 2020.
It
so
is.
here's
yes,
what I was
it is.
saying.
Stop
not according to Strange Currency's music catalog.
We've slipped way ahead to opinions about the album.
Sure. Right.
So, but in the context, this fits in though. This is the one I mentioned last week. One of these was them working in factions. It was this one. So it was Carl, Ricky, and Blondie would come together and record all their songs, and then Dennis and Daryl would do their stuff, and then Mike and Al just kind of all separately. And so it's this kind of mishmash patchwork. It's been called schizophrenic or whatever, which I think is incorrect because that implies multiple personality disorder, which is not correct. It's not the same thing.
This is them working in their own spaces, and this is their chance. This is my alternate reality where Dennis gets to go and do a solo album, and this is Carl's kind of doing his thing.
The album feels like an alternate reality in general, and I agree with that. But I agree with both of you on this point because I guess we're back to reviewing it. But it is like not a Beach Boys album, but it's still good, I think.
Yeah, and my issue is never the fact that that I don't think it's any good. There's value to these songs, at least 7 of them. But like, I don't know. This is the Poochie the Rockin Dog of the Beach Boys career, in that all right, well we're irrelevant and we're like coasting on fumes, so we need to like introduce some new characters. Like, all right, now you got fucking Daryl Dragon and Blondie and Ricky. It's like, just make something different. Like,
this is different.
Call it something. This isn't a.
It is called something different.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. Carl and the Passions.
Chill out.
Nobody's gonna buy Carl and the Passions.
By the way, there are like varying stories as to why it was, or not why it was called that, but where that name came from. The book I'm reading says that was a vocal group that Brian put together with Carl, and they won like the school talent show or something like that. But then,
it's like a class project.
But Carl later claimed that never existed. Right. So who knows? And if Brian is telling a story, who knows?
That's true. I will also say though, contextually, Beach Boys are traveling around. They're going into Europe and they're playing around there, and they're in the Netherlands. and they're playing some of this material, and they play some of the old songs, and according to as the story goes, the crowd in the Netherlands was cheering for them to play their new stuff.
Well, this is when they showed up 4 hours late because they missed a flight.
Right.
And the people were still there, like, okay, Beach Boys, come on. And
they started playing some of their old, fun, and the crowd was like, no, we want to hear the new stuff. And they were really supportive. Usually, when you go to see, a band of this ilk, you would think, just play the hits.
Right.
But, like, they were really into, like, no, create something new. And that's what Carl and the Passions is. It's them going off doing something new that's not, that they don't want to be tied to, they tried changing their name to The Beach.
Maybe they should have.
They should have.
Which in the in that book for the Sail and Sailor box set, Al's talking about like how much he loved that idea. Like,
really?
Oh, yeah.
Al says this? Come on.
Yeah.
I doubt it.
Yeah. Hey, we're like already 26 minutes in, and so we need to take a break and come back and start talking about side A.
All right, we're back. We're talking about the Carl and the Passions album by the Beach Boys. No, the Beach Boys album.
No.
The So Tough.
The Carl and the Passions album, So Tough.
The Carl and the Passions, So Tough by the Beach Boys.
I can accept
this
it
is going to
way
be good
more
going track by track.
Track A, track 1.
This is all,
A1.
This is going to work.
A1.
It's called You Need a Mess of Help to Stand Alone.
Which kind of gives High with a Little Help from My Friends.
A little bit. The initial title was different. Brian was hanging out with that weird dude.
Jack Riley.
No, Tandon Almer.
What?
Yeah, who was apparently a troublemaker. He wrote a hit song for a band called The Association.
A band called The Association.
Yeah, so he was like a druggy buddy.
Yeah.
But Riley came and changed the words, and they changed the title, and so that's where this came from. I think this is interesting. Carl sings lead. It fits. This song actually does fit with the Ricky and Blondie songs, I think.
Yeah.
It has this kind of like funkiness to it.
I dig it. This is totally different.
Too. Yeah.
I dig it like that. I'm like, yes, give me more. Keep going, guys. I don't need root beer. I want...
Right.
It's 1972.
I like it.
Give us something different.
I think this sets up track 2.
Yep.
Because we're going to get kind of like this, and then you go into track 2, but then something else happens. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Matt, thoughts on this track 1?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, stop it.
Well, no, I mean, it's not great. It's just it's fine. It's a kind of... Carl's voice is on it.
I feel like at this point in time, he's maybe trying to sound like Blondie. Because this is not the only track where I was actually a little bit surprised to find out that it was Carl of this era.
Yeah, it's fine.
Oh,
this guy.
Stop it.
No,
right.
I mean, are you gonna tell me that it's great?
It's pretty good.
I like it.
I like it a lot in my notes.
It's fine.
Track 2. Here she comes. This is the first Blondie and Ricky song.
Yes, please.
I think the song is great.
It's great.
I love the groove. The bass line.
Oh.
And allegedly Carl plays that bass line.
No, he does not.
That's what it says on this, Wikipedia thing. Boom.
Oh, so good. I thought for sure that was Blondie, but...
No, but he and Ricky both sing the lead, I guess. I don't know how that works, but yeah. This is like full on them. Carl obviously is there. But yeah, this is... Like when I talk about this song and the other one, this is where it's like a completely different band. Like,
it is.
It's not the
Beach
Beach
only
Boys.
a completely different band, but the band is what it sounds like.
Right,
to me.
right. They both sound like the band a little bit.
Which is good. I like the band.
Mm-hmm.
And I
But
like this
it doesn't-
direction, and I think the Beach Boys... What would happen if you had the Beach Boys doing Creedence or the band and adding their vocal parts to it?
Right, but
and
there
we don't
are
quite
no
get
vocal...
we don't, right, but this is the direction
There
that
aren't
we're
any
headed.
audible contributions, really.
Right.
But the thing is, like... I mean, taking a wider view now, like... These two songs by them, it's track 2 and track 5. take those out, and this album is a mess. It's like got some good stuff, but it's like what this is just bullshit. Flush it down the toilet. I think these two songs kind of anchor it and make the whole overall experience of listening to the album better.
Agreed.
Like, and it's short, like we talked about. There's 8 tracks. It's less than 35 minutes long. Like, put this on. It's fun. Great. Whatever. All right. So that's track 2. I think Matt has something to say about track 3.
Well, first off, I will say I actually like this song. Not 3. Fuck that.
Right.
Here She Comes is good. We actually chose it as the representative track on our catalog crawl for the playlist. It's a Blondie Ricky song.
Absolutely.
It's not a Beach Boys.
And which we've established is weird. It's weird to like feature another band twice on your album.
And without it, this album would be significantly worse.
Yes.
Who produced this track?
I think Carl.
Carl, probably.
Yeah.
What band is Carl in?
Oh, shut up!
I'm just saying,
so this basically then the Flame, I get, or the Flame album is the Beach Boys because Carl produced it.
That's what you're saying. You're saying that this is not a Beach Boys song. I'm saying it is a Beach Boys song with Ricky and Blondie infusing.
No. This is not a Beach Boys song. And that doesn't mean that it's not good. Like I said, it's the best song on the album, but it's not a fucking Beach Boys song.
I'm with you on a lot of your points.
And they put it on here only because without those 2 songs, this would have been like 26 minutes worth of music. And they're like, well, we can't do that. So we need to, throw something out there so we don't.
I'm sure Carl was encouraging them to like, you're in the band now. Let's see what you got.
Sure.
And so was this recorded at the same studio as the other tracks on this album?
I don't know.
I don't believe so.
Yes, it was. It was recorded in these studio sessions. It happened to be a song that Blondie and Ricky brought to the table, but that doesn't mean it's not a Beach Boys song.
First off, there are different studios that are being used. Like in the box set, it talks about how a lot of the record was recorded in Brian's house, in his studio, and that even some of the other members of the band were like, I don't know, I thought we recorded the whole thing pretty much at Brian's house. And it's like, no, we recorded some of the songs at, I don't know what LA studio it would have been. But like the other band members weren't even around when this was being done, which, okay, fine, that happens sometimes. The White Album, you've got...
This whole album is like that.
But the White Album's fucking great, and this is, all right.
Alan, you know what? Here's
and
the
it's
other
also
thing.
got songs that are written by the 4 fucking Beatles, not the 4 fucking Beatles plus a couple of random dudes who they found and picked up.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. This is where Al and Mike are off doing their own thing, and that's great. Let Carl do his own thing, and he's going to do his thing by being inspired by Blondie and Ricky.
Then Carl should make a solo record with
That's what
Ricky
he did. That's what this
with Ricky
is.
and Blondie on it.
That's what this is.
And literally not call it a Beach Boys album, call it Carl and the Passions.
That would have been cool.
Yes.
Talk about alternate reality.
I'd be all about that.
Yeah.
And then the Beach Boys could have fucking ended in a certain degree of dignity in 1971 with a goddamn good album that ends with an amazing trio of songs at the end of it. And now we got this, we're going to call ourselves the Beach Boys because we think it might actually sell a few more records if we do, but it's not a fucking Beach Boys album.
You know what, Matt?
2 worthwhile Beach Boys
that.
albums after this, though.
Matt, you can have that.
Hold
allow that to be.
Hold on, what did you just say?
So there are at least 2 worthwhile Beach Boys albums.
There are, and we're going to talk about one of them soon enough, and the other one is a fucking Brian Wilson solo album that never should have been called the Beach Boys album. We'll talk about that one a few weeks from now. But that exactly helps to emphasize my point.
All right.
The one great Beach Boys album after this is also not a Beach Boys album. It is a Brian
Dennis Wilson
solo
album.
Dennis Wilson.
Yeah.
Okay, but listen, if we're getting into semantics about what is a Beach Boys song and isn't, like obviously it is because they're members of the Beach Boys. It's on a Beach Boys album, but also it's not a Beach Boys song because there's only one Beach Boy involved and he doesn't sing. Frankly. Anyway, moving on.
Next song.
He Come Down.
Okay.
God, this song fucking sucks.
All right, hold on. I have a new take on this because we've talked about this before. And yes, this song is trash. It's terrible.
It doesn't make me angry.
But here's the thing.
It's a gospel song.
On listening to it again and appreciating it for what it is a gospel song, I actually don't mind it if you get rid of Mike Love's verse.
Oh, I don't
if
even
you can
remember.
edit out Mike Love from this song,
oh right,
it's great.
Okay,
it's actually
it still sucks.
It's not great, but it's actually listenable and palatable.
Yeah.
It's Mike Love's like talky, like trying to make it something that makes it aggravating and terrible. And actually, like literally, I want to get the MP3 or I want to get the file and splice it and literally just cut out that section and listen to it. I think it would be.
I like the little breakdown, just the down, down,
Yeah.
down, 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 like that part. And I think you're probably right about that. Like I said, it doesn't make me mad the way Student Demonstration Time does, because there's gospel elements in that just seem really, I don't know, forced and wrong somehow.
I think
this
the only
is more
forced-
legitimately a gospel song.
Right. The forced parts of it, I think, are isolated to that Mike Love verse. And if you can get rid of that, I'm just saying there's redemption potential. Matt,
Brian
take
has
a deep breath.
A co-writing credit.
I'm
on
gonna
this one.
edit. I'm gonna cut you an edit. I'm gonna send it to you.
No, it'll still
and
suck.
you'll be able to listen to it, and you will be able to appreciate it.
No, it sucks.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's not that I have like a complete and total inability to like gospel music, because there is some very, very good gospel music, and even like now at this point, mostly white rock band playing gospel music.
Yes.
I don't even have a huge problem with that inherently either. Like the Clash has fucking gospel songs on Sandinista, and they're great. It's just this sounds I just hate it. I hate it.
It's
it
cheesy.
sucks.
I have that
it
it's
just
cheesy.
Sucks.
I took cheesy, and that was my main complaint with it. But again, I think if you cut out the Mike Love from it, then it's yeah. Anyways, track 4 is fantastic, Marcella.
Is that the bar?
I don't think it's fantastic.
Yeah, have we really got to the point where we can say that this is a fantastic Beach Boys song? I mean, it's fine. It's okay.
This one is about a masseuse slash hooker, apparently, named Marcella, that Brian used to go to. This was co-written with that Tandon Ulmer guy. Also, fixed up a little bit by Jack Riley, but he left most of the lyrics. This song, I think it's fine. I'm a little, this goes back to the whole, Beach Boys versus Blondie and Ricky thing, but the 2 singles off this album where You Need a Mess of Help to Stand Alone and Marcella. And I don't think those are the best choices. If you're going to do 2 singles, I would have put out the Ricky and Blondie songs, but then it's these aren't really Beach Boys songs.
See, that's my point, you guys.
Well, I think they're the best. Well, no, your point is that they're Beach Boys songs. My point is that they're the best songs on the album, but I really don't consider them Beach Boys songs, even though technically they are.
You're wrong. They're all Beach Boys songs. Marcella is great. Here She Comes.
I'm just kind of
great.
meh
You
on
Need
it.
Mess of Help to Stand Alone is great.
I do like those 3. Those are my top 3 on the side.
Out of 4. Wow.
So I mean, the order I would rank Here She Comes 1, Mess of Help 2, and Marcella 3.
I could maybe get behind.
No.
I don't know.
Mark, I'm curious, Matt, of your catalog. Have you ranked all of the Beach Boys songs? Have we done this exercise?
No, we haven't. Maybe that's something we can do.
I feel like
if you
Marcella
guys are ever
is-
going to write again for Strange Currencies music,
I feel like
we should do
Marcella
it.
is
Every Beach Boys song ranked.
Marcella is in the top quarter, top third.
No.
Well, what's the number? What's the total?
I don't know,
Because
but
if the top third is 100, maybe, I don't know.
All right, let's right now, the 3 of us, and we'll throw Remy into this as well too.
Okay.
Let's commit to making all Beach Boys songs ranked.
Let's not go
just a top 100.
Top 50. I hate doing this.
damn.
I'll do a top 10.
Well, we did it. We did a top 100 Beatles, and
Right, and I refused to participate.
That's right. We did a top 50 Pavement,
And that's the only reason is because it was 50.
Well, the only reason we did 50 is because Pavement has 100 songs, but we just didn't. We were every song.
I've already gone through, honestly, and I've made playlists for every album, I think, except for the live ones, up to Holland, and separated them into phases, phase 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
So that would be the basis of my ranking.
Okay.
But I'd have to mix up the order and not go just to chronological.
How many
so I
tracks
have done some of the
from-
work.
How many tracks from Carl have you put on
Probably only 2.
there?
Marcella is fine. It's not.
do you-
It's not fantastic.
Well, okay. You guys-
If this is now what passes for a fantastic
No.
Beach Boys song, we have really, really, I don't know.
all right.
We've debased the Beach Boys.
I only have Here She Comes and Hold On, Dear Brother.
Yeah. Well, hey, on that note, let's take a quick break and we're going to come back for side.
The flip side.
Ooh, industry speak over there. Nice.
We're back on Talking Down the Highway. We're talking Carl and the Passions So Tough by the Beach Boys. I don't know. On the cover, it's got like Carl's Beach Boys on the left.
Wait a minute. Sounds like it's time for an episode of Sound of Vision.
I could have finished the thought.
Sound Vision, where we discuss all things aesthetic using the scale provided to us by David Bowie. If we really like something.
Anyway, it says Beach Boys on the left.
Shut up. Glad if we really like something, we call it a
low.
That's right, David Bowie's masterpiece. Tim, if we don't like something, we call it a.
And then Carl and the Passions is in the middle.
Hey.
Oh, Never Let Me Down?
Yes, in which David Bowie definitely let us down. And if it's in the middle, a comfortable middle ground.
So Tough is on the right.
Let's dance.
Okay.
Let's dance. All right. Cover.
So the cover though, it's like the whole Carl and the Passions thing. It sounds like a throwback, to like a barbershop quartet or something. Mm-hmm. It's this 50s. I don't know what kind of car it is. It's definitely like a surfer type car,
like Woody or something. Probably.
Yeah, some kind of.
Who knows? Because you don't see a whole lot of it.
Exactly, some sort of hot rod. And yeah, what I was saying was that like even it's. Like the way it's laid out, am I right? It's linear, right? It's like left, right, left, center, right. So Beach Boys on the left, Carl and the Passions, and then So Tough.
It kind of depends on which one you're looking at, because I'm looking. There's two on Rate Your Music.
Oh, really?
There's one there where it's very, very big on it. Says The Beach Boys on the left, and then on the right says Carl and the Passions, So Tough. There's also another one though that is
So Tough
attributed to Brother Records. It was apparently a gatefold, and on that one, it actually I don't see anywhere on the front of it where it says The Beach Boys at all, which is exactly what it should have been. Okay. Just, hey, it's Carl and the Passions.
So the one I'm looking at, the one that's on Spotify, has the large, prominent The Beach Boys on the left. And on the right, it's actually kind of a whole block. It says Carl and the Passions, pretty small, in like kind of almost a handwritten script. Or it's like calligraphy on the top, and then So Tough in single quotation marks underneath that. So the fact that they kind of shrink down Carl and the Passions makes it a little bit less confusing, I think, to just a person to be like, oh, it's a Beach Boys album, because that's white over red. It's like it really stands out. Yeah. And then the rest of it is this thinner script, so it's like, it's called, it looks like it's called Sofo or something. A little bit less confusing than having three separate things on there, but it's still kind of sloppy.
Okay, so
the image is like, what the hell is it? It's a car door.
Right. Yeah. So I will say now that I'm looking at the one that doesn't have the Beach Boys really big on it, which is, it looks like the original releasing. The original press was released as a double album, or as a 2-record set is what they said. There's literally a sticker on this one that I'm looking at that said there's a little sticker, the Beach Boys specially priced 2-record set.
And that other record was
Pet Sounds.
Oh,
so it's basically them saying, hey, if you buy this package, you at least get one Beach Boys album.
But this version of the cover, just let me interject real quick. It does say the Beach Boys very subtly across the top, tiny little letters spaced out evenly. Where? This is what I'm seeing.
So I'm not seeing that. So that's what it is on the Sail on Sailor box set, which is what I have in my possession. But yeah, there is this one on Rate Your Music. It says 1972 Brother Records. There's like total ring wear on it, and there is nothing in there where it says the Beach Boys at all. It just says Carl and the Passions in that little script, So Tough, and that to me is an acceptable cover because it doesn't advertise it as a Beach Boys album.
Yeah,
which I'd give that a Let's Dance. Now the one where it has in giant fucking block letters the Beach Boys next to it, Never Let Me Down.
Yeah, this whole thing has never let me down. It's terrible. It's awful. It's like a cheesy
regardless of which
throwback.
Version.
Yeah, regardless of the version.
It looks like a compilation.
And it's a bad idea. It's confusing. When they first dropped this, they released it with Pet Sounds. So it's like, hey, remember the Beach Boys Pet Sounds? Well, here's our new stuff, and we're calling it Carl and the Passion So Tough because it's so different. But like, how to set yourself up for failure.
Exactly.
Here's the best album of all time, and here's
by comparison, this is like, what the fuck is this?
So, and I think that's why it gets a bad rap, because immediately you're like, what is this? This is not the Beach Boys. It's not. And stop thinking about it like that, because you're giving it a bad, like...
I know, they literally put it out as a Beach Boys album.
No, they didn't. It's not. It says Carl and the Passions. So Tough.
Then why are we talking about it?
They should have called it Carl and the Passions Tough Shit. No.
Yeah.
All right. Hey,
the back cover.
Good episode.
Back cover. Yeah, back cover.
Just because it's funny.
It is funny.
There's like the whole band is on there, right? I guess except Bruce.
And Al's like, All tiny.
And Brian
is just cut and pasted in there.
Literally cut and paste. This is
he's
early
not,
Photoshop.
He's not in a bathrobe, is he?
I didn't notice.
I can't tell.
I didn't bring it downstairs to the studio.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Poor Brian is...
So the whole thing is kind of never.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. We got to make things happen. Whoa, what in the fuck was that?
I don't have a mute button over here.
Jeez.
This sneeze.
Okay, moving on.
God.
Moving on.
Feared for my life there.
Okay.
All right, B-side.
B-side, track 1, Hold On, Dear Brother. It's another Blondie and Ricky song.
Also good.
I think it's better than Here She Comes, really.
No.
Just kind of depending on the vibe you're in, you know. Blondie plays bass on this one and sings lead. Excellent song.
It's really good. You know what? Sounds like time for an episode of Heroes and Villains.
Well, okay.
Heroes and Villains, where we discuss the heroes and the villains, whatever it is we happen to be talking about this week. And this week we are talking about Carl and the Passions So Tough.
I think it's Carl and Passion So Tough. It's like all one word.
So
Carl
tough.
and the Passion, so?
Tough.
Yeah. You wanted a Beach Boys album? Well, you don't get one, so tough. Yeah.
So,
all right.
yeah.
Heroes, I know you guys have been talking a whole lot about Blondie and Ricky. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I think it's fair enough there because they do contribute what are probably the two best songs to this album.
Yeah. I mean, they kind of saved the album from being complete junk.
However, the very, title of this song,
Right.
the way that I want it to have been intended and what I want it to mean, like I wish that this had been like a song written by Dennis
and
Carl called Hold On Dear Brother. We know you're going through some shit, you're in bed and you're wearing a bathrobe all the time, and we have to copy and paste you onto the back cover for you even to be around. Like, that's what I want this song to be, because it reminds us that once again the real hero of the Beach Boys story is and always will be Brian fucking Wilson.
Right. Funny though, I don't know at what point they wrote this song. Maybe they had some of that in mind, even though they're not in the family. Maybe not. But just kind of the coincidental thing, like how Sloop John B just weirdly fits into the theme of that of Pet Sounds. This kind of, in a way, fits into the theme of the whole, just the band in general at that point.
It's a good song. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like it. All right.
Oh, who's the villain?
Well, I mean,
Bruce.
They finally have kicked Bruce out of the band.
I would say Carl is also a hero here for getting these guys kind of involved.
Who kicked Bruce out officially? Like, they said, in the box of things, like creative differences,
right?
Which is always a fucking cop
and
out.
I forget the book. I don't think specifies, but there was a little bit in the Wikipedia where it sounded like Carl and Jack, maybe.
Okay,
I forget.
All right, then maybe heroes there.
Yeah,
but villain. I mean, Bruce, just because he still lingers over this, like in some way.
He's in it. He didn't quit. He didn't leave until after this was recorded. Yeah.
And then
I do like the Bruce songs in the last two albums. So,
hey, before we stop giving accolades to heroes, can Daryl Dragon get a shout out here?
I don't even know what to make of the existence
I feel
of
like Daryl Dragon has helped Dennis kind of blossom and take this, and Dennis's hand is broken, so what else is he going to do?
Yeah.
Let's start playing a little piano. The dude can play piano. The dude can write.
He wore a cool hat sometimes.
And I think Daryl kind of helped him, encourage him.
Got a cool
as opposed to Murray, who would just yell at him and beat him. Now Dennis has some positive reinforcement.
And it's fitting that we have all of these heroes that are not actual Beach Boys, because this isn't really a Beach Boys album. So.
But who's the real villain?
Villain, I mean, it's the guy who's over there in the corner doing virtually nothing other than spooning, dog food into his mouth the whole time.
He really does barely anything on this album.
Exactly. Which
is why it's a great album.
This is not a great album. God, I will give it to you that it's at least decent. It's not great.
Mike Love is the villain for that verse in the gospel song.
Yeah, Mike Love's always the villain.
Yeah, Mike Love's the villain.
Let's move on. We got 10 minutes left to cover a whole side and then do our evaluations here. So, Hold On Dear Brother, we've already kind of talked about. It's good.
Okay, Make It Good. This is one of two Dennis contributions.
Yes, I love Dennis's
they
contributions.
Were factions, so no one else was there. He got all this orchestration, all these people involved to do his two songs upright, and I think they're good. I like this one. It's a little schmaltzy, but
it is.
This one was apparently meant for a potential solo album. And
yes,
and just gave it to the Beach Boys. Mm-hmm. I like it.
I do not care for it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's super schmaltzy and over the top, and
it's him being vulnerable. It's him Diving in.
I don't like it at all.
All This Is That is the next track. I have it as fine, kind of a pleasant little chat. This was Al, Carl, and Mike contributing to the writing. Carl and Al singing. It's fine. Okay. It's kind of like a Wii music from the Nintendo Wii. When you're making your little character.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. I actually like this one quite a bit.
All
right. In fact, it is the one album on this song that I would say actually sounds like a fucking Beach Boys song.
The one song on
because it's the only one that is a Beach Boys song, really. I mean,
yeah.
Okay.
You got
right because it crosses the
Al
factions. You got Carl and
Captain Dog Food, who are it's got some Wilsonian harmonies and everything. Like this sounds like a song, even though Brian doesn't get a credit on it. It sounds like a song that has his influence in there.
Yeah.
I think this is actually.
I like it. I mean, I think, like I said, it's pleasant. It just doesn't grab me as it's
not great,
the winner,
but it's good.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Final track on the album is Cuddle Up. Another Dennis, very similar in the sense that it's also very schmaltzy and very orchestrated. But I do like this one. I think it's fine.
I like it a little more than Make It Good, at least. Okay. But it's too fucking long. It just goes
it is,
and
it kind of goes. It gets a little full of itself by the end. Yeah.
It is stark because it's full orchestration. It's a stark difference from some of more of the kind of the rockers, and they're ballads. So I think in juxtaposition, it might be off-putting to some. But I dig Dennis. I dig a good Dennis ballad. So
it's fine. I hear this, and then I hear what Carl's been up to lately, and I really feel like we screwed up with our rankings. I really revisionist history here if we're going to play the Glenn game and go back and redo what that cannot really be redone. I would have switched our ratings that a 4.5 should probably be a Carl and a 4 should be a Dennis.
Yeah. That said, I'm going to give it a Carl. I don't know if you're even going to.
Oh, we're already doing this?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it even rises to a Carl for you. Maybe it's an Al.
No. Yeah, this is definitely not a Carl. This is a soft Al.
Soft Al.
Yeah. Soft. Oh, no.
Al being 3.5, Carl being 4. I like it enough to give it a Carl.
Nope. I'm giving it a Carl.
Definitely lots of flaws.
The average rate your music gives it a Bruce Johnston.
Oh, yeah.
3.06. Which is criminal.
Right.
No, it's not criminal.
No, I need to bump it up. It's Carl Wilson.
And this is one of those that was it's become a cult favorite. Elton John likes it a lot. I don't know, but it didn't sell. It hit number 50 in the U.S. It didn't stand.
And
hold
I
up
appreciate
to
it. I think a lot of people who I appreciate that a lot of people don't like it, and I think many of their don't likes are reflective. Come from a good place. They come from a heart that this is not Beach Boys, this is not Brian Wilson, therefore I don't like it. And I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
But I also am willing to appreciate it for what it is. This is Carl, this is Dennis. They're growing, and poor Brian can't contribute, so they're going to keep the train rolling, though.
And I know, Matt, what you're saying about, if Surf's Up had been the final album, but I'm almost taking, for some of these, I have to take the Ratitude approach. Which,
are we going to make our next podcast about Weezer?
Yes. But, when we were talking about that, I got in the wilderness.
The other day, hold on. The other day at Music Millennium, I found for $14 Maladroit.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I kind of like Maladroit.
It's not terrible.
Yeah.
And, but so I looked it up on Discogs, and they're going for 70 or 80 bucks.
Wow.
Some have gone for over 100. I was like, I got to buy this. 14 bucks. Anyway,
but
our next podcast, everybody, we've officially announced right here is about Weezer.
I think it was Ratitude. Is that the one with all the collaborations with other it was either that or Hurley, one of those. But I remember Brian Bell apparently went to Rivers and was like, "What are we doing, man? What is all we're collaborating? This is not a Weezer album." And Rivers' response was, "This is just one of many, we're going to do so many more albums that no one's even going to remember this one. So who gives a shit? Let's just do something crazy."
We are talking about it.
Yeah. So as far as this album, they didn't end on this album, and it's just one of many, and it's just part of the melange.
Yeah. I enjoy listening to it. It's fun.
I do too. As far as just listenability, put it on, enjoy those Blondie songs. I like it.
Carl. It's a Carl. Done.
Soft Al.
Great episode. Great
Soft
episode.
Al. And on some days,
It's a warm
today being
Carl.
one of them, I could say that it's even like a
Stop.
fucking Bruce. But
Stop.
But Bruce isn't on it, so I guess I had to.
He is on it.
Is he really though?
Yeah.
Where?
He's on it. Well, let's see. I just remember that being a factoid that he left the group after this came out, after it was recorded.
I at least background vocals on
Right.
Marcella. That's all he seems to be on according to Rate Your Music.
Yeah,
at least.
apparently according to this too. Yeah, but
Yeah,
he's there.
so he's out of the band for this album.
Yeah.
All right, this album that could have been maybe now I will make it a Bruce just because I found out that he does something. Okay, well we'll be right back to wrap this all up. All right, we are back to wrap things up here.
Hi everyone.
Carl and the Passions.
Glenn and I are in a great
This
mood.
is this is now a Carl and the Passions podcast.
I'm passionate about this album.
I'm Carl about. Well, anyway.
All right,
You know, Matt, I'm sorry you didn't like it, but tough.
I
So tough.
I don't. That's the thing. I don't dislike it. It's just not a fucking Beach Boys album.
Man,
Anyway,
he just hates it so much. It's like, always posting about it on the internet and
yeah.
whipping people up into a frenzy. Every time we say something good about it, he tells us how wrong we are.
Deep breaths, Matt. Deep
Comparing it
breaths.
to, Mein
there will
Kampf.
be good stuff coming. Yeah.
He's been vomiting during every break.
All right. Well, hey, that's it for this week. This is our shortest episode in a while for the shortest album that we've covered in a while. And
Yeah.
I guess since it's not a Beach Boys album, we didn't spend that much time talking about it. So anyway, hey, we'll be back
But
next week.
we almost got in fights, so that was cool.
Yeah.
That was cool.
We're not done yet.
Oh,
right.
hey.
All right. Hey, like and subscribe. Talking Beach Boys, StrangeCurrenciesMusic.com, all that stuff. We will catch you next week.
Later.
Bye.